Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Eliezer Melamed, Shlita. Yom Chamishi is upon us as we get ready for Shabbos Kodesh. We continue our learning, but please continue davening for Chalei Tzvah Gana Yisrael, for Shalem L'chol Petzuei Yisrael, a safe return of our hostages. We dedicate our learning to the Nishmat Seren Daniel Shemen Rav Doron V'Sheli Shamekim Damo. The next chapter, Mesiba Shel Goyim. B'hisasvus Shel Goyim laharamas kosit. Asli Yisrael ishtos afil ma'at mashka alcoholi. If you have a gathering of non-Jews, and it's one in which glasses are raised in toast, etc., so a Jewish person may not drink even a little bit of alcohol. Even if it's in a public place, in a public hall, which has nothing to do with the non-Jew. So even if he brought the alcohol from his own home. You're allowed to eat there, provided that it's kosher, of course. However, if it's a Jewish gathering, even if there are non-Jews there, but since most people are Jewish, then one is allowed to drink alcohol. Obviously, the concern, as we've been discussing the last couple of days, is the hisarvus, the mixing together, and we're worried about assimilation. But mesiba shel goyim, kivan shaseuda chashuva yoser. At functions for non-Jews that they make, the meal is considered more important. Lo rak mashka aser elagam ochel kosher aser lechol sham. So if the meal is the most important thing, then even kosher food, if you have it there, one shouldn't eat there. And even if the host, who is non-Jewish, sets aside a separate table for the Jewish guests, and they have kosher l'mahadrin, aser lechol sham, it's prohibited. Again, a very, very strict opinion here. B'chlal mesiba, when it comes to the rule as far as a party goes, chasana, mesiba l'kavod leda, v'kavachomer stu l'kavod chag, kedugma chag hamolad, Sylvester v'chag hakarban. So what's included in these parties? A wedding, a birth celebration, certainly any sort of festive celebration for non-Jewish holidays, New Year's, and it says Sylvester in Israel, that's what they call Christmas, they call it Sylvester, and also New Year's, Chag HaKarban. But if it's just a regular gathering and there's no celebration, then certainly you can have, provided that there's kosher food, you could have a meal in a non-Jewish home or even in a restaurant. But you have to make sure not to drink alcohol. This prohibition to eat at a meal at a party with non-Jews, again, we're worried about this mixing together. So the Psukim already tell us in the Chumash that we're not supposed to involve ourselves because the pasuk says, it's in Shmos Lamedal, Pen tichros bris liyoshev haaretz v'kara lecha v'achaltam mizivcho. When it says mizivcho, it's replying in his, not just his karban, but in his seuda, in his meal. V'lakachtam bi benosav levanecha v'zanu benosav acharei lo heihen v'hiznuas banecha acharei lo heihen. Kasher medubar b'mesima shel goy avoy v'adazara. And if that's the speaking of an idol-worshipping non-Jew, so not only are we worried about assimilation, but also we're worried about possibly following their gods, as the pasuk says, that we're worried that your children will lust after their children, your daughters after their sons, your sons after their daughters, and also you will lust after their gods. So therefore, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah tells us, Yisrael shebechutz la'aretz ovdei avodas chachavim b'taharahim. Kolomar mushboim misrabos dadam. That the Jewish people who are in the diaspora are, in a sense, idol-worshipping, meaning that we're so influenced by the non-Jewish religions that surround us. So, Ketzad, how is this so? If a non-Jew made a meal, a feast for his son, and he invited all the Jews in town, even though they're eating their own food, they're drinking their own drink, and they have their own mashgiach, so to speak, and someone's serving them. The Gemara says it's considered as if you have eaten from the offerings of Avodah Zarah. The Gemara in Megillah and in the Medrash and other places tells us that one of the reasons that the Purim story happened is because the Jewish people, they partook in the Seudah of Achashverosh, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. Amnam ala machalim shehugshu b'mesiba in Isur, v'lechein im shalach mehem hager lebesu shal Yisrael ubar shehem kasherim below pikbuk mutal Yisrael lachlam. And as we mentioned, it's not the food itself. So in other words, if let's say the food from the party, which is 100% kosher, and it's double wrapped and sealed, etc., and the non-Jew sends it to your home, it's absolutely permitted to eat it. We're dealing with eating at the party, at the festivities itself. Kasher yeshnu chashash shehimanaos meishtatvus bechasno b'mesiba tigrum leva. But this will be probably a common question. What happens if my non-participation could perhaps lead to certain discord, perhaps even hatred? So the poskim have a difference of opinion whether or not you can partake in that Suda to eat kosher food at the non-Jewish Suda. Yesh omrim she'aser. Some say that you're not allowed to. Why? Is that if you partake in the Suda, it's going to lead to assimilation, intermarriage, and it's actually probably a better thing to cause Eva, better to cause discord, so that we don't come to that point. And others say no, that it's allowed. We're not worried about any cultural influence that they're going to have on you, since you're only there because you're trying to prevent enmity from taking place. Lamaisa, practically speaking, we try our best to manage situations like this. Perhaps give a nice gift, a heartfelt gift, instead of going to the meal part. And when you cannot separate yourself, when you cannot extricate yourself from that situation, we participate, again, to the least level possible to prevent any sort of enmity. However, in any event, drinking alcohol is completely forbidden. Again, a very, very long note here based on the Gemara in Avodah Zarah and the practical situations. Again, if you have practical questions, I know this comes up. Let's say a lot of people may be having holiday parties now. How do we handle that? So then you have to each ask and look at your situation individually and figure out how one should carry oneself. But until then, we continue learning. So please continue davening for Chayalei Tzvagan Yisrael, for Shalom L'chol P'tzui Yisrael, safe return of our hostages. Nishmat Saren Daniel Shimon Rav Doron V'Sheli Hashem Yikum Damo. Thank you so much for listening to us today, and we will see you here Mitzvah Hashem next time. Till then, have a great day.